Good morning. Lovely to see you. And today we have something I'm really looking forward to this today, actually, because achieving goals, I think for all high achievers, we all have goals, we all have intentions, and we want to get stuff done. We're great at that stuff. And I think that's what makes us high achievers, that we see something that we want to change in the world or in our life or something like that, and we take action on it. We're really motivated to do something about it. And we often have quite a lot of confidence in our ability to make that change, to make things happen and to get out there and take action. And what I want to talk about today, though, is I think what happens with a lot of high achievers, we get a bit too caught up in the achievement. So we're going, doing all this stuff and making things happen. And we get a bit too used to being able to make things happen. Whatever we want to have happen, we make it happen. But that can be really hard if life throws you a curveball and you are in a situation where you can't make something happen, or there's a big gap between what you want, or what you your goal in life, or what you're wanting, or how you think life should be, and the reality of the situation as it is. So I know for a lot of you, and I know a lot of you very personally, have been through from some pretty challenging times in life, whether that's through illness with you or a partner, and there's a massive curveball thrown in your life, and I know I've been through that. Whether it's through maybe losing a job, or not getting promoted, not getting things that you wanted, or having set big goals for your life, which is awesome, knowing what you want to create in life, but it just doesn't seem to be coming. And it can get really frustrating. And I think all of us have probably had that moment where the world, like something's happened and it totally changes what you're able to achieve, or you feel like you're not getting towards those goals. And it can be really frustrating. It can be really easy to get into that mode of thinking of, man, this is not fair. How come this has happened to me? Why is this like this? You might get into blame. You might get into anger. You might be really irritated and annoyed. And, that's okay. That's a normal human emotion. When we have an expectation about something and that expectation is not met, that triggers instead of triggering our flight response, it can trigger our fight response. So same bunch of hormones and chemicals going around in your body, but more directed towards gearing up for the fight. So getting that anger and that feeling of injustice and unfairness. And so that's a really interesting, first things first, you always pay attention to those things. Note when you are feeling that really strong emotional reaction, and knowing that it's perfectly okay. It's perfectly normal when your expectations aren't met. For a lot of us, you get that wave. You might even get that wave of angry feeling. That's okay. What we need to do is recognize that. So understand that that's why this is happening. There's that gap between what I expected and what I'm actually getting here in reality. Now, for some of us too, that can turn into a depression, a feeling of sadness, a feeling of failure, that the reality of our lives isn't measuring up to what we expected. It might be, and whether that's job or income or house or possessions or relationship or whatever it is, when those expectations aren't met, we are going to have some sort of emotional reaction. And I often think about it like that dog on the chain, the angry dog on the chain that's fighting it, getting angry and running around and round and biting and barking and having that really strong angry reaction. And I want you to think about that imagery of a dog on a chain that's really angry and fighting it. Do you want to be around that dog? Do you want to go anywhere near that dog? And are you inclined at all to help that dog? Possibly not, because in that moment, in that essentially angry state, it's very hard for anyone else in the world around you to actually offer you any help or support. So it is really important to understand that it's a normal human reaction and that we all get angry sometimes, and that's perfectly okay. The thing is, though, to realize that we can move through that, and moving through that means that other people in our world can actually start helping us and being part of it again. I like to think about the image of an eagle. So if you, hopefully all of you have at some point in your life looked up and seen an eagle just floating in the sky. So flying and just coasting around and just looking around. They're obviously, sometimes they're on the hunt. They're finding what they need in life, and they just float and glide. And it seems so effortless watching this eagle, and they make those beautiful little adjustments with their wings, and they can go wherever they want as they glide on those winds, I guess, of life. And what's interesting is that eagle, sometimes the winds of life are really supportive. The eagle can so easily just glide and get exactly where it wants to go, and it's just effortless. But then sometimes those winds are awful. They're buffety. They take the eagle in the wrong direction. They throw the eagle around. And what I like to think is, you think about that eagle, when that's happening, when the winds aren't particularly favorable for that eagle, does the eagle turn around and beat the wind? Does it flap its wings at the wind and yell at the wind, or squawk at the wind and get cranky at the wind? No, it doesn't. And what would be the point of that? It would just get completely exhausted. It would get frustrated, and it would actually then not even have the energy to fly anymore. So what does the eagle do when the winds are buffety and they're going against them, and they're not carrying the wind, they're carrying the eagle where it wants to go? The eagle just makes some small adjustments. It actually has to allow the wind to carry it where the wind wants to go sometimes, because the eagle knows it can't fight the wind. So what it does is it slightly adjusts its tail and slightly adjusts its wings so it can ride the storm. It's still uncomfortable, but that storm might take the eagle to a new mountain where there's a whole lot more food for the eagle. Maybe there's beautiful new lands it never even knew existed, and the wind has taken it there. It has to ride the wind, whether the winds are favorable and lifting it up, or whether they're buffeting and uncomfortable. The eagle still needs to ride the wind. And I like to think about that when I'm facing these problems and it feels like the wind's against me, is that I just need to make a few adjustments and still ride the wind, even though it's going to be rough and it's sometimes a little uncomfortable. But I can make the adjustments to keep riding, because the wind will change again. The wind will become favorable again. And if I can learn how to not be afraid of the buffeting and afraid of the discomfort, then when I do get the favorable winds, I can ride them even better, and I can make the most out of those favorable winds. So today what I want to talk about is, okay, well, how do we close that gap between and allow life to be a bit uncomfortable sometimes, and understand that, yes, we can ride the uncomfortable winds and float with them, as well as the wonderful, uplifting and amazing winds that take us where we really want to go. So first step is to, like I said, number one, recognize your fight response. Understand that it's going to come. Sometimes you are going to get shirty. Use that word, Aussie word. You're going to get the shirts, get really shirty about life and about what's happening. And that's okay. Certainly when a human first experiences something that is not meeting their expectations, they will find that. And actually it's quite healthy to have that fight response, because that gets you up and into action, as long as you don't get caught there. So understanding that we're going to have the fight response, and we're going to allow it to pass over time, that things are going to change. The second thing is that you can start to do is learning how to allow that gap, allow the fact that things aren't what you want them to be right now. Now, this can be in a broad scale in life in general, or it actually can be on a micro scale. So even if it's something, or I don't know, the kids aren't picking up their clothes or something, and it annoys the heck out of you every time they do it. So you've got a certain expectation about how they should behave, and then that expectation's not being met. So you're getting that fight, that angry response. So initially, what we need to do to allow ourselves to move through that with ease and grace and keep on our path and keep going towards, not waste energy on fighting this, is we need to allow that gap. So, okay, we can allow that gap by making sort of thinking about in our brain. So let's take the kids example. How about we think about, oh, wow, actually, last week they did put on the wash and they did hang that out without even being asked. And they helped me with this, with dinner. They helped me with, they do their homework, or they give me a big cuddle, and they help me when I'm feeling down, they help me. So thinking about, okay, well, what in this moment about that person or about this situation, what is good, what is comfortable, what is supportive, what are the little breezes that are actually still supporting you, are still lifting you up. So the same you can do if you've got big goals. So if you say you've got a massive goal for generating income for yourself in your lifetime, or creating, this portfolio, or buying a certain type of house or something, and you've got that big goal and it seems so far away right now, what you need to do is think about, okay, well, what is it about that goal? Why did I set that goal? What is not so much the goal and the physical thing about what you want and how you want to change things, but what's the feeling? Why did you set that goal? What will it make you feel? Will it make you feel joy? Will it make you feel secure and safe? Will it make you feel proud? Will it make you feel like you are competent or independent? Or what's that essence of why you set that goal? Why are you striving for that goal? And if you can think about that, if you can really grasp onto that feeling or that emotion that having that particular goal would give you. Maybe if it's a relationship, if you want to find your perfect partner, what is it about that person? How will you feel when you have that perfect person in your life? And what you need to do to close that gap. So right now you're not feeling that for whatever reason. You're striving for a feeling that you're not receiving at the moment, or you don't feel like you are. So to close that gap, still have your goal in mind, still know that you're going for that perfect, whatever it is, like that thing that you're striving for. But right now in your life, is there something or someone or some situation that gives you that same wonderful feeling? So right now in your life, what makes you feel secure? What gives you that really peaceful, calm, sense of, okay, I'm safe. So what gives you that? Maybe it's a little thing. Maybe it's the money from your paycheck coming into your bank account. Every time that money hits the account, you go, "Whew, yes, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay." Or maybe it's another person in your life that gives you that little sense of security in your life right now. Or maybe it's something completely different. What gives you a feeling of pride, of achievement in your life right now? And it can be something very small. It doesn't have to be that big, lofty, massive goal. It can be something quite small. What triggers that wonderful emotion? So what you're doing is closing that gap, making your brain realize that we don't have to wait until you achieve that huge goal or go through the discomfort and all the things that you need to get through to achieve that goal. You actually have elements of that goal right now. And so think about being that eagle, that breeze is blowing all the time, and that you can catch little lifts sometimes. It's not always about catching that massive updraft and being raised up and huge steps forward in your progress. Sometimes it's about those little lifts where you suddenly feel that little sense of, oh, yes, I did that. So, or, I have that. I already can feel that. And so bringing those wonderful things into those emotions, those feelings into your life now starts to close that gap between your expectations and what you're dreaming and your vision and your goal to what is actually in reality now, so that we can feel, we can allow the reality of now to just be, that we're okay. We can find joy, we can find ease, we can find grace in moments all the way through our journey, that we don't have to be uncomfortable the whole way. In order to achieve our goals, we don't have to be pushing. We don't have to be always pushing boundaries and feeling uncomfortable and on the edge, or we can actually sit back and allow and enjoy those wonderful moments on our journey, so that we can achieve our goals with ease and grace and moments of joy. And that's what I always strive to do, to recognize those moments. So yes, I need to use my discomfort in order to grow, in order to push myself and do things that I would never have done before. But I also need to sit back and just allow those moments to realize, hey, wow, I do have those wonderful things in my life right now as well. So take a couple of minutes. Think about a goal or an expectation perhaps that's not being met in your life right now, and think about what it is about that goal being achieved that would make you feel. Why are you doing this? What's that emotion that you're really going for? Deep in the heart of it, what's the emotion? And then think about, okay, well, what in my life right now? Write down 2 or 3 things in my life right now. What actually gives me that emotion just now? So we can allow things to be, but also focus on those goals in the long term. So have a wonderful week, guys, and enjoy being uplifted, and go with the flow, go with the wind. Allow the winds to sometimes lift you completely, and then sometimes just adjust your sails a little to go buffeting through those buffety times on occasion. All right, so have a wonderful week, guys. See ya.